What a game. The games this weekend. My God. You know, this has been introduced with like a Steph Curry throw it incomplete to Devontae Adams. Wow. I mean, that's all I can say is wow. What is going on, guys? Back for the Love of Sports podcast. And today we got John on the mic. What's going on, John?
Oh, hey, everybody.
What is going on? And today we're jumping out of the normal, huh, Valletta? We're going to be talking about some tech today.
Moving into the new norm.
New normal tech world. So today, guys, a couple topics we're going to be discussing is, should gamers get a TV or a gaming monitor? This is a very, opinionated question. And, me and John have recently switched to gaming monitors. We used to have, gaming TVs at the time, and recently kind of got introduced to the whole monitor scene. I recently picked up the new Xbox S. John just built his, I believe, his first gaming PC, right, John?
First built gaming PC, yeah.
Oh yeah. So guys, what are you guys thinking? Gamers, TV, or monitor? And I'll give a quick rundown of why I chose a monitor. So the new Xbox I got is 1440p output. So for me, the monitor I chose was a HP Omen 27i. It is 1440p, so it's 2K. It caps out my monitor at 144 hertz, which is more than enough for me because this system can only do 120 hertz maximum, and most of the time you're not really getting a true 120 hertz anyways. But the thing that pisses me off is, man, I always see people always talking like, oh man, dude, I want to get the new PS5, I want to get the X. And then I ask them what type of TV they have, and they have a 2-year-old 4K Vizio with HDMI 2.0. Is that like not a thing, John?
I mean, theoretically, if you're going to buy a TV, you would want it to be able to support HDMI 2.1, which also means it supports the new 4K 120. Now, of course, if you're buying a Series S, then there's no point. I mean, 1440 is its best resolution. So I know my Samsung, my older Samsung from last year, my Q70R, supported, not even last year, the year before, supported 1440p at 120, but without HDMI 2.1, it would never have support 4K 120. So there's so many different things that ruin the experience for the amount of hardware you're buying. For all this money you're throwing at the wall, you might as well just throw it at the wall at that point. It'd probably look better.
Legit. So the thing is, it's like weird because like everyone always says that, like, I want this new system, and the capabilities that you just mentioned aren't even there. You're never going to be getting 4K at 120 hertz. So this is kind of where we're at. So, John, like I said, just built his first gaming PC from the ground up, and from what he's told me, he really likes it. And I think more and more people are going to be getting into the PC world versus the console world, just because strictly for that one thing that we just mentioned, you can get better specs. Granted, you are usually paying more for a PC, but even for a monitor, and in this topic today, monitors are going to give you way better performance. And at least for me, not competitive game, but I play games that aren't like sports games. I play games that aren't like scenery games. I play like Call of Duty, which to me, I want to be sitting right up on it. I want to be able to get the best frame rates and the best resolution as I can. And another thing is, people always look into should I get a TV or a monitor, and they look too much into the resolution. And I got to be honest, we both have 2K monitors, me and John, and I don't even think that if I had a 4K monitor, I would actually even notice a difference because I'm sitting literally like on top of it. What do you think, John? Do you think we would even notice a difference?
Well, you look at it this way. There's a sweet spot in the world of size. I mean, so when you're dealing with
size
a
matters.
27-inch, size, then you can be kind of, bashful and show it off, so like, look at my 27-inch, otherwise, of course, when you're doing something in a 27 or 32-inch sizes, you shove as many pixels as you want into that display, but in the end, once it hits a certain density, you can't see the difference anymore naturally. Now, also, when you put more pixels into something, your device, like your computer, your Xbox, your PS5, all those have to be able to push those pixels to their max. And I mean, in the end, you're just looking at basically more and more stress on your computer now or your gaming console to try to make that display look as good as it is. I mean, even when I've built a computer that can support, high frame rate gaming, if I don't turn down the qualities, I can't get the high frames that I would really want. I mean, I can't max Q everything on a 3070. It's a tougher cost difference. But for sure, when we're dealing with it, 1440p is more than enough for a monitor. It's you can always dumb down a 4K if you want, but the 4K monitors are double the price, if not more. And they do have new ones coming with HDMI 4, 2.1 at 4K resolutions, but at almost $800 to $1,000 for those monitors, I mean, you're coming into TV territory for some of the newer, like we were talking before this we started recording. The Neo TVs from Samsung are going to start off at $1,500 for a 55 inch. So, you know, that's mini LED backlit TVs. That's going to have high or micro LED, well, no, mini LED. Sorry.
Mini LED, yeah, mini.
Yeah, mini.
Yep.
Micros, the TVs themselves. Those are going to be thousands of more dollars. So I think
Yeah,
you're looking at 1440 on a monitor today.
So what do you think about that argument, though? Would you recommend a gaming monitor or a new HDMI 2.1 Samsung mini LED? I think it kind of matters what size, no? Isn't that the biggest
I think it
consideration?
matters on your situation, is what I would also say, though. It's not about, in my mind, anymore. Like, I have a TV and a monitor in my room. The TV's for my movie watching. My TV's for my shows, my gaming on my Switch. I don't even play on my monitor with my Switch. I mean, there's really no point. And I like having the larger screen for my Switch at that point.
Yeah, right.
But for other thing, I mean, if you're trying to set up a one size fits all equation, then a TV is going to be your better solution. I mean, if you're doing one or the other, if you're doing, of course, one and the other, you're going to get both. So you want to do a gaming monitor and a TV. The TV should be better at what you want it to be, and maybe not the most expensive. I mean, I bought a Hisense HHG. The thing came out to about $500 in the end with tax. A 55 inch, great TV for the
Wasn't
price.
bad.
It's full
Wasn't
array,
bad at all, right?
full array QLED, man. I mean, it's just basically a Samsung Q70 of R, but it's not the same in the frame rates, would say. So, not a
Right.
gaming monitor, but it is a great TV for watching movies. Dolby Vision support, for God's sakes. The colors are beautiful. I mean, I was surprised at how great the colors this Hisense gives you.
Yeah, so that's another conversation. You just mentioned you got a $500 Hisense TV looking as good as a $1,000, $900 Samsung. And, we just mentioned all the resolutions and the frame rates, but there's got to be a color difference too on, a mini LED versus a gaming monitor. There's got to be.
So
the brightness has got to be significantly different.
I did also go with the G7 Odyssey for my monitor, which is a quantum dot panel also with full array backlighting. But HDR 600 is basically the standard for the start of HDR, which there's all these other things now that are going to come into it. But TV with Dolby Vision supports probably upwards to 900 nits peak brightness. So for brightness, colors, shining through the images are going to be gorgeous, bright, vibrant. Going to be better on my TV, not my monitor. But my monitor is high refresh rate along with that. So, I mean, it's a 32 inch, which some people can watch TV still on 32 inches, but it's not what I want to watch movies and TV on for sure. Not to mention speakers. This is a whole other thing, is the differences between monitors and TVs. The app systems, you can't get smart functionality. You can't get you can't get speakers that are really good or even reasonably good built in. So
Yeah, but are the TV speakers good anymore? Really?
no, but I mean, I also have HDR ARC, which you don't get on a monitor.
Yeah, that's true. I
So
don't
you get
think my
audio
monitor
pass-through.
has audio like output for sound. I think it's just like headphones.
Mine does have a headphone out, which I did plug into a Sony XB speaker that I had from God, probably 4 years ago, but the thing sounds beautiful. I still love this speaker to death. It's a great speaker. This was worth the whatever amount of money I paid back then. It was pretty small compared to what other people may pay. Uh, so
Yeah, so getting back into the TV consideration. So these new mini LED, I believe, QLED Samsungs this year are looking great, man. All of them have HDMI 2.1 support, which is awesome. Same thing with the Sony TVs too, coming out this year. All of them are HDMI 2.1 minimum,
Which,
which is
I
great.
mean, they're going to fight to dethrone OLED, really, because that is the competitive, which they are releasing a 43-inch OLED this year. So there is some
Oh,
competition
dude, that
going
thing's
on
gonna be
right
so
now.
sick.
So now a C10, I think they said was going to be a 43-inch C10 this year.
Yeah,
Um,
C10. Isn't that sick, dude?
so I mean, now we're talking a large screen format that you can probably use as a TV no matter what, even if you just wanted to use it as a TV. So now, don't forget that HDMI 2.1 is the most important aspect. If you're building a PC, your newest GPU, that of course has to be a 3000 series, NVIDIA, or a 6000 series AMD GPU to support 2.1, where DisplayPort is very much the standard for gaming on a PC. So don't forget that. If you didn't think about it, if you're going to run DisplayPort, you might as well go monitor.
Do they have
Period.
like 2.1 display ports yet or no? I don't think they do. Didn't they say?
No, DisplayPort is 1.4 is the generation out right now. They are announcing a 1.6 is what I heard, or even a 2.0. But HDMI 2.1 kind of takes care of both. So it's kind of outpacing DisplayPort. So HDMI may be the future of gaming on all devices for that reason, and the next gens and the generations after that.
Right,
So
right.
let's not forget that DisplayPort is great and it does do quite a few things that HDMI still couldn't have done until 2.1 came out recently. So, of course, with 8K content coming and all this other stuff in the world of resolution competition, HDMI 2.1 is going to be probably the port everyone's going to be start using
You
at
know
this
what's
point.
always found funny? I always find how like people that have computers, and I guess because it doesn't carry audio most of the time, and it's mainly for video purposes on like a monitor. But like everyone goes like crazy on getting like a high end like HDMI cable, and then they plug in like a $20 store brand DisplayPort cable. Like don't even think about the
Well,
difference. Like do they even make? I
this
don't even think they make this. Does DisplayPort even matter? Like a better cable?
Well, DisplayPort itself is just so many lanes of traffic already, well isolated traffic that DisplayPort is just a standard. Where HDMI, of course, has all these different standards of insulation and different type of copper materials, all the way up to the silvers and golds of of low resistance. That is, so I mean, I feel like for one thing DisplayPort did right away was say, listen, this is DisplayPort. If you don't meet these criteria, you can't make it a DisplayPort cable.
Yeah,
So
literally.
even the cheapest DisplayPort cable can be as good as the most expensive DisplayPort cables. Where HDMI is a different ball game. Nothing stops there. We've seen it working together over the years. There's different levels of HDMI. Um,
Right. So different levels of HDMI, totally different. Some of them have more, synthetic threading built into it. Some of them have more, like you said, gold-plated tips at the top. But pretty much the biggest thing with me, HDMI, the audio quality, like the video quality is really not that much of a difference. People always get tied up in like which HDMI cable. Like I just bought an OLED. Should I get, this super high-end HDMI cable? And I always tell them like, I recommend getting something that's going to be, somewhat decent, that's going to be able to transmit, at higher speeds to give you, better durability on the cable. But the biggest thing with me is transmitting audio through that cable, especially if you're connecting it to like a sound system. I think that's more important than versus,
but that's where
uh,
that gold and silver comes in, of course. So totally,
right.
being less conductive materials inside of a cable causes, of course, more distortion. Where silvers and golds is so just beyond anything else, just because of how conductive gold and silver is. I mean, I don't know if you've seen recently, but Linus Tech Tips did a thing with a gold Xbox controller. They actually did a full, like from a bar of gold into a controller, an Xbox
Yeah, I saw
controller.
that. What the hell is that, dude?
Well, so they literally took I don't know how much weight it was, but up to almost $60,000 worth of gold, and made a controller with it from an Xbox controller, basically transplanted into a gold controller. Well, the one crazy thing about that is gold is so conductive, they had to isolate the components of the controller so that nothing would short, because literally gold would have caused, just touching a component on a board would have turned into like electrical shock at that point. You could have actually shocked yourself with the controller if they didn't isolate the parts of it.
Isn't that
Imagine
just
going to pick up your controller and taking a little tingling happening in your fingers, you know?
Oh my God, this is so insanity. So back to the conversation, we were talking about TVs and should I get a monitor? Should I get a TV? We brought up some of the new TVs. All right, is this a safe comparison to say? So if you're getting a QLED, you're getting brightness. If you go with an OLED, you're getting contrast. If you go with a monitor, you're getting frame rate. Is that a safe comparison to kind of put into those three
Well,
categories?
except that companies like Samsung are making quantum dot based panels like mine, which have the same type of panel that is inside of a TV today. Now it's not LED, it's LED backlit, not mini LED backlit, so not as many zones. Which is, I mean, mini LED is going to be almost every single pixel is a zone at that point.
Better
When you're
full array
talking,
local dimming with that.
yeah, it's literally, you're talking every single pixel on that back panel could technically be controlled at certain levels. There's certain versions of the TVs they talk about, if you look up on them, that some of them are based still in zones in smaller panels, but they, yeah. So there is ways to get that same color, brightness, and HDR support in monitors, but you're spending more for it. HDR 600 is the minimum for most people to get the true HDR experience. And sadly, Windows is terrible at HDR, by the way.
That's what I
I've,
heard. What the
I've,
hell's up with that? Yeah, that's
I don't
insanity.
know. It's Windows 10. I've been playing with it, trying to make it work. But like even when I go into HDR, my screen will flick off and back on into HDR settings. It's almost easier for myself to turn it off HDR most of the time and just leave it off, because it's just it's just not good. It's definitely not as good as what the Dolby settings and the HDR10 plus settings that have coming out from TVs is so much better, for sure. Now,
So
Windows will fix that, I believe, over time when HDR is more available, which now it is. I mean, I've seen every monitor coming out today has a HDR setting of at least 400 or higher.
right. So this is kind of like the key takeaways from, this OLED versus QLED versus monitor. So a quick little thing on the QLEDs, especially this one's. So the main takeaways are, I think QLEDs are closer to LCDs than they are OLEDs, because that's kind of like the characteristic I would say.
And mini LED crosses them.
Right. And, the way they work actually, so, the quantum dots are pretty much when it hits the light, it emits their own different color light. They also use liquid crystal LCD layers on the TVs to create that transmission, which is smoother, which will create more light to pass through, which in turn will give you better brightness and also keep the same contrast. So I guess if you're interested in a QLED this year, it seems you have to automatically like very bright pictures, because based on what I'm reading about these things, dude, these things are like massive, like 1500 nits brightness. Like,
oh yeah, the Neos
that's almost,
are the Neos
is that
are
over?
1500s,
Does it get to
yeah.
a point where that's like overwhelming? Like honestly, because I have my TV in a basement. I have a Samsung 8000 65-inch. This TV's bright, but I can't, like, I literally cannot imagine having like a Q90 in this room. It would literally be like overwhelming.
Well, I always think that there's two things. With brightness, it's the peak brightness. It's not the overall, quality of the TV in my mind. But when you get those moments where you need that brightness to be like the sun, because literally it is the sun coming up on screen, you want it to be like you're going to have to cover your eyes almost to see it because of it. Because for realism, you want that brightness to be available when needed. I mean, I go back to the factor of when we watch Game of Thrones, that whole Winterfell fight scene was so popular and such a interesting episode, but yet some people's TVs, which could have been the cheapest on the market, had not even close to the peak net brightnesses you needed or the contrast levels like an OLED to create that experience that you can see the image. And to see that people complained about that, and they try to blame the show first, which I get the whole idea, but the director saw it in a darker format, not a brighter format. So he made it darker. Having that peak brightness lets you turn that brightness up for that moment when you need it. So I do believe that it's nice to have. Is it necessary? There's the reason why they have a brightness slider and a contrast slider inside your settings on your TV. Just to make sure everyone knows that they're there. If you do feel
Yeah,
like your TV is too bright,
people don't even
adjust.
know those exist. I don't think people know those exist.
Yeah, so and also I'm sure there's places you can find people that will calibrate TVs for you because there is options out there to calibrate the TV for you if you rather pay somebody. Because otherwise, I've sat there and played what hours worth of playing with my TV without any kind of calibrator. So I can't say I would pay somebody for sure.
Oh,
Uh,
100%. That's like a,
yeah,
to me, it's like a no. I get a professional to do it. No.
yeah. Now, yeah, certainly, it's going to be that way. If you think you can do it, go ahead, but you're not going to probably do as good as getting out there with a calibration tool. I mean, there's literally tools you can buy on Amazon for calibration. I don't even know how much. Good question. Let's take a look. How much does a calibration tool cost you? And then how much is the knowledge of actually learning how to use it?
I don't even know. 250.
Let's
Like I don't even
So an
know.
X-Rite iDisplay Pro Plus, which is this like adapter you put on the TV to measure, it's $299 by itself.
Woo, Lord.
Yeah, a whole kit if you want like all the tools with the software and everything, it's $400.
Yeah, not bad. So,
I
Jesus,
guess if we
400
went into
bucks.
business calibrating TVs, buy that and probably charge $100 a pop. Be better than.
No, legitimately. So back to what we were talking about though, as far as like, you know, what to recommend, monitor versus TV. I don't think either one of us have gave a like definitive answer. And I know
Well,
you alluded
I
to
always
it depends on
say
what you use it for, right?
your life is definitive, and that's the difference because you have to remember that if I'm a gamer and I want to have a TV for viewing movies, but I want to go sit in my corner of my room and game, I'm going to buy both a TV and a monitor. If I'm a person who wants to dedicate my life to gaming, then I'm going monitor for sure, and I'm going to try to get a monitor that would match. Now, of course, the OLEDs kind of break that barrier, and a lot of people have talked about that and why they sell the most right now is that OLED is doing that pretty easily. So I have to say that there's always going to matter on who and what you're going to do with it versus what's better. I mean, I think monitor gaming, I've done it for about a year now. It's definitely a different experience than gaming on TV for sure.
Oh, 100%. Dude, I remember
So
the days I used to game on a TV and like I remember years ago I used to be like a massive Gears of War fan and I don't remember if you remember this. There used to be like a weapon in that game called like the torque bow and I would literally be playing on like a 32-inch Element TV that I got from freaking Sears like 10 years ago. And I remember it because I was nasty with that torque bow, and I would always use it. But the refresh rate on that TV was so bad, and this was like the
it was
Xbox
60.
360 days. I don't even know 60 hertz, probably you just said.
Everything's 60 hertz.
Dude, it was the worst. I remember like literally shooting the torque bow and literally not even seeing it like flash across the screen because the refresh rate was so bad on that TV. It was, oh my god, it was awful.
Oh. Now, don't forget that TCL is also releasing some brand new TVs this year with mini LED backlights that are going to be less than $800. And they're going to be 4K 120 with 2.1 support. So if you don't mind going with these brands that people don't look fondly of because the fact their name isn't owned like Samsung, LG, or Sony, it doesn't hurt to look into these companies. I mean, especially I mean, come on, $800 TV. You're not even if you get 4 years out of it, that's a well worth TV. Because if you buy a $1,600 TV and you only get 4 years out of it, you're gonna be pretty upset.
Oh god,
So,
100%. Imagine that.
so I have to say that certainly if you're looking to be gaming eccentric, you're going monitor all day. And if you're caring nothing but about that experience, other than that, I mean, ga- gaming monitors are everything, and there's so many different great monitors coming out this year, and the numbers of items coming out is more than they ever have been in the past. That's for sure. I don't remember seeing this many releases of new monitors this year. Sure. But I'm interested in the mini LEDs. I'm not going to probably game on it, but I do love the name of the OLED quality with the brightness of a QLED is just going to be a stellar option to cross those boundaries.
So let's
For
throw a
sure.
little wrench into this. So let's just say, if there's a possibility of getting both, obviously get the TV for the viewing, the sports, the TV shows, the movies, and then, the gaming aspects separately get a monitor. That would be the ideal situation for anybody. So let's just say somebody has, $800, that's all they got. They want to get the best experience possible. As you mentioned, TCL, in my opinion, I still think TCL going to this year, making also the the mini LEDs, I think they're going to be the best budget-friendly TV considering they were already last year, 2020. I think for 2021, that would be my recommendation is one of the new, mini LED QLEDs that TCL has. I think like a 55 inch
Yeah.
is maybe what, $700-800.
Yeah, it's not going to be. It's not even going to be that accordingly, expensive in that regards. And it's going to be a quality experience for all the things you want to do. I mean, and I'm sure they'll even offer a 1440p at like 240 hertz option probably, because I'm sure those type of sets can hit that. Which is another thing is with software, these have been possible. Now, also what you'll be gaming on, of course, most console gamers would always sit on a couch. Of course, you're not going to be staring at a 55-inch from 4 feet, or less.
Less.
You can, yeah, you can for sure, but it's not going to be worth putting it on a desk at that point. You're putting that mounted on the wall, or you're gonna put it on a stand and sit back more. And then that's where I do think you should think about your living area before you think of anything. If you're gonna buy one or the other, if you have a 10 by 10 room, then you can probably fit a 55-inch in there pretty easily. But say you only have a 6 by 8 room or something like that, then you might want to look into a high quality, smaller display like a high quality 32-inch monitor. I mean, the G7 Odyssey was only $750 at most times.
Oh my.
So yeah, I mean, it is a 240 hertz monitor though, with quantum dot, full array backlit,
That's true.
HDR support. I mean, you're talking all the bells and whistles you can throw at the wall at that point. Other than the fact that, I mean, I still watch movies on this. It's a 32-inch monitor. I still can watch a movie on it, but I'm sitting 3 to 4 feet away. I'm not sitting right up on top
Yeah,
of
so
it at that
that's
point
another
if I'm doing
thing.
it.
So these people, it seems like today just want to go as big as possible. Even in rooms that you just mentioned, 10 by 10, 12 by 12 rooms, people doing 65, 75-inch TVs like you wouldn't believe. And I think that's newer that you see that, because I feel like years ago that was like never the case. I remember like maybe 15 years ago, my parents got a TV. I think they got it at Tweeter. I don't know if anyone remembers that place. But at the time, it was a great Samsung TV. I think it was LCD. It wasn't a plasma. It was like right after the plasmas went out. But it was an LCD TV. It was like a 43-inch TV. Unreal amount of money. I don't even know what they paid. It was ridiculously priced at the time. But we were sitting like 12 feet away from like this 42-inch TV, and at the time it was decent. Now, if I were to put that TV where it used to be, it would look like literally like it would look ridiculous. So I think that's why you're seeing a lot of people going like 65, 75. But does it get to a point where it's overwhelming is another thing.
Well, and that's where I've had people tell me before they returned to TV because it was too large, and that's one thing that can happen for sure. But I do think the biggest difference from that day to this day alone, it took a team of 4 to 5 guys to carry in my father's 65-inch projection TV.
Those things are massive, dude.
Think about it. That's 4 to 5 people had to try to get the
That TV is like what,
65-inch TV in a
350
house.
pounds?
Oh no, it was more than that probably. It was closer to probably 500 to 600 pounds. It had to have wheels. It had to have wheels. There's no way to
Jesus
try to get
Christ.
around it. If you don't have a flat surface, you're not carrying that thing a long distance. And yet today I could pick up a 65-inch and probably move it myself very easily to this day.
Yeah, mount it and mount it.
Yeah. And even though I don't suggest it, do not move a 65-inch by yourself. Be careful. Try to help out another person by carrying that with them, just so that no damage happens. These things are delicate. But anyways, it takes less now to put in a bigger screen nowadays. You know, those weights, those formats, those physical sizes are so much smaller today. I mean, these mini LEDs from Samsung, the Neo QLEDs they're coming out with, are around, I think it's around 2 inches thick, for not even at the fattest part of it.
If that.
That is a full array backlit TV, and the thickest part of it is where the base meets the body, and it's around 2 inches thick.
It's
Like
ridiculous.
that's insanely thin for a full array backlit TV, because that's
Oh,
full
it's like
array,
unheard of.
not even.
That's like revolutionary difference.
Yeah. If it's more than a few inches thick at the thickest part, that's crazy to think about having that as a full array. Because even OLED, which OLED is very thin in the panel itself, because it's just literally LEDs, but the actual body of the TV, if you look at the actual components, it's probably around an inch thick at the most. Like, and that's still so thin, so
Oh,
thin,
legit.
so
You
light.
know what I was wondering, dude? It's funny that, we're mentioning this is because, you just mentioned OLED and image retention and burning has been like a thing since they came out. And I'm wondering because obviously I don't have an OLED monitor. I'm curious though if I'm ever going to get burning on my display because, gamers at least, they could be playing a game for like 6-7 hours straight.
So
Sometimes they have the same taskbar, everything. I don't know if they have pixel refreshers on monitors like they do on OLEDs.
So yeah, they've been working heavily on, of course, all these companies' software is goals that they've been working on totally. And they talk about them regularly, is these shifting pixels, these adjusting brightnesses according to the burn-in aspects of things. Of course, dimming the screen for X amount of time to make sure it doesn't burn in, and then also turning off automatically after so much time of being on in the same screen. I mean, you never want to leave your OLED on the same display, forever. But it will automatically do it for you without you even noticing that capabilities. Now, will it ever not burn in? I'm guessing after 5 or 6 years, you'll get some kind of ghosting where you'll actually start seeing some type of image left on your screen, even when off,
Oh,
maybe.
guaranteed.
So, I mean, it's organic. Organic material dies. It's sad to say, but it's true. It's organic matter dies. I mean, that stuff's not going to last you forever. It's where the micro LED TVs, which is the kind of future we're looking at right now, is going to be the total game changer. I
I hope
mean,
so, right? Jesus Christ.
well, I mean, it's a man-made material where instead of it being something we have to work with, we're actually changing it to get better. Um, so in the end, you can create a material that will last maybe hundreds of thousands of hours before it ever dies. And one of the coolest things, like with Samsung's Wall TV, is you can take pieces of it and move it and adjust the screen according to what you want. Now, what would be awesome is if, say, I left a track between my desk and my TV, where now when I want to game, I can actually make my TV smaller and take out a piece of my TV and move it into like a monitor space for the days I want to just game on it, and just have like some shows playing on the TV still, because the TV is still functional. So imagine being able to take that one TV you own and make it also into a monitor for the day of want to just game heavily.
Yeah, it's so sick. No.
So big. So it'd be so much fun to think about having that capability to have both in my life, not just one or the other.
Oh God,
So
yeah, dude.
yeah.
So,
So
so you guys heard it here first. We're definitely going towards monitors. Considering we both have monitors, we used to have TVs. We still own TVs that are pretty decent, but it seems like monitors for gaming purposes are definitely going to be the key. Even if you don't even have a PC, if you have these new systems, the PS5 or the new Xbox S or X, monitors seem like the key way to go. And we did give you some specs, guys, on the TVs coming out this year and what we think of them. And we, me and John both think very highly of them. So, depending on your budget, depending on your situation, depending on if you want an all-purpose product, maybe a TV is better for you if you just want to get one thing
Mhm.
specifically. But you
Now,
know,
yeah, and that's where I was just looking at prices, and technically, if you can get like the Hisense HHG, for $400 to $500, and then you could get a 1440p monitor today for about 350 to 400. So if you're looking at that $800 budget, you might have to go about 50 to $100 more after saving up a little bit more money, but you could have both. It's very possible. So.
for
I
sure.
don't think it's not possible because those TVs are worth the value. I mean, I love my HHE, and the only thing that's going to be better than it is going to be these new mini LEDs. So, if you're looking to do both and you think you can't afford it, it's possible to afford it. You might have to give up a few things, but it's not giving up a lot at all in any regards. So,
Right.
it doesn't hurt to look and check.
Yeah,
But I
absolutely.
would say certainly game on a monitor for now and, until those TVs get so good. But in the end, you're not putting a 55-inch on a desk in front of you. It's just a higher quality gaming monitor would be a lot better experience for sure. Save the size.
100%. All right, guys. So you guys heard it here first. Like I said, thanks you guys for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. John, I appreciate you coming on, dude.
Mhm. Yeah, well, we'll do this more often, very likely, and we'll look into some more topics. If anyone has interest, throw them in the comments. We'll try to talk about other things. I'm sure the window's open for all types of comments, and we'll see what's going on. Well, so
All right, we'll see you
nice
guys.
talking.
Thanks.